Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be false pride, ignorance, and arrogance. Well, I've got an email here from a guy who, when I originally started reading the email, he was saying some nice things, but what I realized is the majority of his email was meant to be to offend me and to hurl a bunch of insults at me in order to make him feel better about his life. And the reason I chose this particular email, because even though it's a negative one, is because everybody has to deal with people like this. People that don't have anything nice to say about other people. They just go around belittling other people, cutting them down, putting them down, because the reality is they feel that big on the inside. And the more successful you become, the more you're going to have people like this hating on you. And remember, haters don't hate you, it's that they hate themselves. They want to be you, is what the reality is. They want to be like you, but they're not. So in order to make themselves feel better about what they feel they're lacking, they try to attack or put down or belittle other people that they perceive as being more successful than they are. So I have a quote that I wrote on this topic, and then we're going to go through his email. And the quote says, "People who are happy, abundant, and loving only have encouraging and kind words for everyone, even those who are struggling or not as successful as they are. They build people up and sincerely rejoice in the success of other people. Miserable people who hate themselves and their lives go through life looking for opportunities to tear other people down and belittle them in an effort to ease their own suffering and feel better about their shitty lives. The next time you encounter another human turd in the punch bowl, just remember that no one will ever do or say anything that is not a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. Don't take it personally, because it's not you, it's them." So let's go through his email. He says, "Hi Corey, so I've been in a hugely successful relationship for 3 years. Well, good for you, dude. But out of curiosity and hearsay, I decided to read your book." Sure, people that come to me don't come to me because everything is going wonderful in their lives. They come to me because something is off track, something is amiss. You do come across with some very good points about how to be masculine and not act like a bitch. However, the common pattern I am seeing with you is that you are painting every single girl on earth in exactly the same light. That is absolutely not true. I could tell after going through your email that you were looking for something to belittle, some kind of label to put on me and my book and my work, because obviously there were some things in there that you read and it made you feel really uncomfortable. Because otherwise, if you were really happy and your life was really great and you had an attitude of gratitude and you were in love and your girl was great and wonderful, like you tell us all how awesome it is and how awesome you are, you wouldn't be here in the first place. You wouldn't feel the need to it. And even if you did, if you were really successful with women and knew them and understood them as well as you claim to represent in your email, you would have read my book and go, "Hey dude, spot on. That's a great fucking book and it can really help a lot of people that are struggling. Thanks for writing something great like that." You'd have something nice to say. But instead, you're just a turd in a punch bowl. The women you seem to date in the past come across as self-centered drama queens. I've definitely dated some self-centered drama queens, but not all of them, and I wrote about them in my book. But again, it's like what Stephen Covey says. Most people listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. And the fact that you're focusing in on one or two of the women that I talked about, that I struggle with, and what's interesting, because you're young, so you don't have a lot of life experience yet. But when you struggle and you go through difficult things in your life, those are usually the situations that you grow the most from, that you learn the most from. That's the reality. When you get to be my age, you'll understand that. But right now, you're just arrogant and you're full of yourself and a sense of false pride, if you will. And as the old saying goes, pride cometh before the fall. And that's the beauty about life, is that life is going to come along, it's going to humble the shit out of you, dude. In your future, there is a giant serving of humble pie coming your way, courtesy of the universe. And that's just how it works. Because your ego is totally inflated, and you're totally full of yourself, but the reality is you don't really feel that great about yourself, because otherwise you've never wasted your time writing an email like this. My girlfriend wouldn't throw her toys out of the pram or hint, I don't know what a pram is, or hint to me that her attraction levels are dropping purely because I haven't acted perfectly for a few weeks or a few months. Dude, you're delusional if you think a woman is going to put up with you not behaving properly for several months and not call you out on your bullshit. What you are saying in your book is that in order for you to keep your woman happy, you must be a perfect specimen in robotic. That is absolutely not true. What I teach is a way to get to the place where you are your authentic self. Maybe you grew up in a happy household with a loving mom and a loving dad that taught you how to have a healthy relationship. I personally didn't grow up in that kind of environment. I grew up in the kind of environment with a physically abusive father who basically beat the crap out of me on a regular basis, usually because he had too many beers in him at that point in night, or he just completely ignored me. They never said I love you. They never hugged us. My mother was the same way. My mother's parents were like that. My dad's parents were like that. All of my aunts and uncles were like that. So I grew up feeling incredibly insecure and unsure of myself. And I didn't have my first girlfriend until I was 23, 24 years old. And you know what? As far as your age, you're ahead of where I was at your age relationship-wise, just because I was still trying to figure out what life was all about and what I needed to do differently. Because I had friends that were successful with women, but when I would ask them for advice, they would just go, "Oh, just be yourself," or be a dick. I had another friend he was a very good-looking guy. He was a part-time male model, and that was his attitude. Just be a dick. That was his advice for me. He couldn't articulate or explain things in order to give me any kind of useful advice. He says, "Don't act like a human." That's definitely not what I teach. Again, you're latching on to one or two sentences or one or two examples in my book. Again, just to belittle who I am, what I'm about, belittle my work to make yourself feel better because, again, you feel about that big. That's the reality of it, dude. I studied economics and psychology at university and now work for a hedge fund. Thus, I deal with lots of psychological issues in the world of trading. Well, here's what I know. I coach a lot of psychologists and I coach a lot of therapists in every country all over the world. And what's interesting is a lot of them have told me, says, well, the common knowledge that people who go into therapy or psychology, a lot of them go into because they're really fucked up and they're trying to understand and help themselves. Especially somebody that just takes it as an elective and not really a major, kind of like you did. So there's obviously more going on here than you're letting on to. You're trying to present the case to us, if you will, that you're the perfect human being and I'm an idiot and everybody else that follows me is an idiot and you're the real genius in the room. And then he says, "No offense." When somebody says no offense, what that means is, I mean to offend you. I'm trying to offend you. No offense, but you come across as an overanalyzing nut. Well, one of the things that I've learned about in life, and Steve Jobs talked about this in his biography, is that you really can't understand why things happen to you the way they happen to you and why they happen to you as you're going through them. It's only as you get a little older and you're able to look back that you see how the dots all line up. My passion, like when I was a kid, was always taking things apart. How did things work? Why did things do what they do? I never was satisfied with an explanation that somebody gave me. I always want to know why. Why are things the way they are? And I went to school I majored in construction management. I was part of the College of Engineering and Design. I had a lot of design classes. And when I look back on that, I know how to build buildings. I know how to build multi-million-dollar buildings. I've built some of the biggest projects in the world in my construction career. And I worked for the best company in the world at the time in the mid-90s, which was Syntex Construction Group. They were the largest, most successful builder in the world at that particular time. And so my ability to take things apart is, without realizing, that was part of my life path to becoming a coach. Because I had so many traumatic things happen to me in childhood, and having an engineering background helps me look at problems like this or read somebody's email and completely diagnose what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and be able to give them some useful feedback that they actually can take some corrective action and make positive changes in their lives. He says relationships are meant to be fun and not this constant battle of hard work. You're absolutely right. They're supposed to be easy and effortless. And if you follow it, if you actually read my whole book, then you would know that I talk about some of the relationships that I had that are easy and effortless with no arguing, no fighting. You get along great. And some of the women that I wrote about in my book, that book I originally published it over 10 years ago. I've since published a second edition of it in 2013. I'm still good friends with her to this day because she's a great communicator. She's healthy, she's easy to talk to, and she's been a great friend over many years. This is the gal that I dated from the UK. And the only women that I keep in my life, even long after the relationships have ended, are women that communicate like an adult. I don't keep drama queens or fucked up, self-centered, narcissistic women in my life. My life is a drama-free zone. I live the things that I teach. But again, you're latching on to one sentence in my email in order to throw a label onto me, discredit who I am and what I offer in order to make yourself feel better about your life. Because obviously there's some things that you read in my book and it made you feel really uncomfortable. My 2 relationships in life have been much easier than the battles that you seem to have had with women. Well, like I said, by the time I was your age, I'd lost my virginity and I dated a bunch, but I got a lot of first dates. I didn't get very many second dates when I was your age. So from that perspective, hey, you're ahead of where I am. Maybe you grew up in a happy, healthy family and didn't put up with all the bullshit that I had to, but that's my life. And I'm grateful for everything that happened in my life because I hadn't have struggled that way. If I hadn't have grown up and not known all the things that I've since learned in my life, I wouldn't be able to help people in a useful way. My first girlfriend and I got together when I was 16. We broke up when we were both 20 on good terms. That's really the way it should be. If you know what you're doing, you should be able to end a relationship in a loving way and still remain friends, especially if you're the one that has ended the relationship. Since then, I've been in a fantastic relationship with my current girlfriend. We're both 23. She is sweet, loving, pretty, confident, and never gives me unnecessary shit over little details. She realizes I'm human and not perfect, and I do her. That's the way it's supposed to be, dude. And I've written about relationships like that I've had in my book. But obviously, maybe you didn't get to that far. Maybe you read a few things in the beginning. Again, most people listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. And you don't sound like a guy who was really trying to understand where I was coming from and why I break things down into step-by-step directions. Because most of my clients, about 90% of them, are men. And men need a plan. And before you can teach, you must know. And the reason I'm able to help people in such difficult situations is because I've made all of those same kind of mistakes. A guy like you is the type of guy that's like some of my friends that I had when I was in my early 20s, just say, oh, just be yourself. Oh, or just be a dick. And that was their advice to me. They couldn't really explain or articulate what it took to be successful. But I don't expect you to understand because you haven't walked in my shoes and you don't look through my eyes and you don't have the clients that I have. You don't do this professionally for a living. I do, and I get great results. And all the reviews that I have on Amazon and the iBook store, I mean, they speak for themselves. Plus all the people that I have that follow me on YouTube, and you look at all the positive feedback that I get on the videos that I publish, I mean, that all speaks for itself. And I've got a couple just short emails that I'm going to go through. These are like some really short success stories I got over the past couple days. I mean, at the end of the day, dude, where's your book? If you're such a genius and you're so much better than me and all the rest of the people that do things, why don't you write a book? Why don't you tell us how it's done? Why don't you show us your best-selling book? Where's your YouTube channel? Where's your website? What are you doing to make the world a better place? Besides just going around and hating on people that you don't even know. You should have just thanked me for what you learned from me instead of trying to belittle me. I'd have more respect for you as a man, but instead you just act like an immature, little arrogant little boy. Because that's what you are. You're full of pride. And the reality is, like I said, you feel about that big. So here's one. He says, hi, at the moment you've gotten me out of a dark place and kept me from ending it all. I'm convinced your website and book will continue to get me out of that place and to the place where I want to be. I'm a firefighter in the UK, and I have been for 27 years. I know it made a difference in other people's lives, but I thank you because you saved mine. So that's one dude who basically is telling me he was thinking about ending his life until he came across my work. Is there anybody that's in your life that would be happy to say that about you? I'd say probably not. What about your friends? Are you the type of friend that builds people up? Or are you the type of friend that walks around and they go, hey, I'm going to start my own business. Oh yeah, doing what? Oh, that's a shitty, stupid idea. You're too dumb. That'll never work. Or are you that guy? Here's another one. This one's from a woman. Hey, Corey. I'm a divorced female who is considering dating again. I have found your coaching videos on YouTube very helpful in terms of building confidence in myself. I recently attended a wedding where a single male was introduced to me. I was successful at starting a conversation with him to try to get to know him and a sense if he had any interest in me. He seemed to be a very nice person, but I did not sense that he had any interest in me. At another opportunity, I tried to make conversation again, but I felt he was not interested and concluded he is not attracted to me. So I made no other attempts to try to close him in on conversation. The real success is that my self-esteem did not go down. I was able to see this experience as an opportunity or a stepping stone into starting to meet single men again. That's a nice success story. Thank you for the good advice and for making the segments of video accessible to me. I was able to extract information relevant to females and in relationships in general. Well, you're welcome, by the way. Here's the third and final one. Dear Corey, I'm 20 years old. I'm a Eurasian from Hong Kong who found your work 1 year ago. With your teachings, I was able to find myself and realize the potential I have in dating and relationships. This work not only has helped me with dating, but also with family and friends. It showed me a different perspective on life and living in general. Also, if it wasn't for what I had learned from you, I would have never been able to get my first girlfriend. We've recently broken up, but it was out of love, just as a normal part of life. Thank you so much. I owe pretty much most of it to you and your advice. So here's a guy, I don't know, 20 years old, a little younger than you are, came across my work, got his first girlfriend, and even though the relationship ended, he was able to end it with love. And that's the whole point of what I teach, is to help people get what they want. So when you start helping people in a way that they perceive as being valuable, and they go out and they sing your praises to everybody, and they write it on the reviews of your book, they write it on your YouTube channel and your website, then you have something to talk about. Then you have something to say. Right now, you're just an insecure, arrogant, condescending, full of yourself jackass. It's full of false pride. And the universe is going to come along at some point in the future, and it's going to serve you a giant fucking helping, maybe an extra large helping of humble pie. And when that happens to you, I want you to think of me. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.